Reading for I Met You in a Story, 2nd edition, Bob Jones University Press. The Pony Express by Becky Gorham. Illustrated by Stephanie True and Roger Buckner. Suppose you are living in New York in 1860, more than 120 years ago. Your brother lives in California, where he is panning for gold. You miss him and would like to talk to him. But how do you get to California? You'd have to take a stagecoach or ride in a horse-drawn wagon through deserts and rugged hills. That would take too long. And you can't call your brother. The telephone hasn't been invented yet. The only way you can talk to him is to send him a letter by stagecoach or boat. But even a stagecoach or boat travels so far out of the way that your letter won't get to California for 6 weeks. That's too long, you think. In 6 weeks, I'll have 100 million other things to tell my brother. William H. Russell and several business partners felt the same way in 1860. News is old after 6 weeks, they thought. Suppose the letters could travel straight to California without having to go so far out of the way. Then the mail would get there sooner. Let's get some fast horses and good riders to cut straight through. Then we could get the mail to California in 2 weeks, maybe even 10 days. Russell and his partners went ahead with plans for a fast mail service. 190 stations were made ready along the route. They stretched from St. Joseph, Missouri to Sacramento, California. These relay stations were spaced from 10 to 15 miles apart. The partners bought 500 horses for $150 each. This was 10 times the amount usually paid for a horse. But these were special horses. They were small, fast, and tough. They were able to travel rough country, carrying both rider and mail swiftly and safely. A special saddle was designed for the horses. It was flat and very light. Over it was a leather covering called a mochila. It had 4 pockets to hold the mail. As the relay stations were being made ready, the partners advertised for riders. The riders had to be skilled horsemen. Also, they couldn't weigh more than 125 pounds. That meant the riders had to be extremely small, thin, or young. Finally, the equipment was in place. The relay stations were ready. The horses were waiting. Now everything depended on the riders. On April 3rd, 1860, the mochila was flung over the saddle of the nervous pony. A boy in buckskin breeches jumped into the saddle. He kicked his spurs into the pony's flanks. The crowd cheered. A cannon thundered, and the first Pony Express rider was off and galloping. On he raced to the next relay station. There he hopped from his horse, slapped the mochila onto a fresh mount, and took off for the next station, 15 miles down the trail. Then, in relay race fashion, horses and riders traded off. On and on the trail stretched. On April 13th, 1860, the people of Sacramento lined the streets to cheer the last rider. The mail had arrived in 10 days. From then on, the mail usually did arrive in 10 days. But there was trouble on the trail. Sometimes riders arrived at burned relay stations to find that Indians or thieves had stolen the horses. During one Indian uprising, Pony Bob Haslam rode past one destroyed station to another and another. He rode a total of 380 miles before he found a station where he could stop. Buffalo Bill Cody was another who rode past stations for 320 miles. Another rider found a pass blocked by Indians, but he charged on through, yelling and firing his pistol. Others were chased by Indian warriors and managed to escape. Some were wounded, a few were killed. Weather was as much an enemy as were wearing Indians. Blizzards could cause a rider to lose the trail. One rider found his way only by following a river flowing in the right direction. In winter, the horses plowed through deep snow in the mountain passes. In summer, they raced over hot plains. Often, people in wagon trains waved to the riders as they passed. People in the settlements would gather to cheer the heroic riders on. The Pony Express riders had been galloping bravely from east to west and back for nearly a year. Finally, the riders began passing crews stringing telegraph wires. In 1861, the telegraph line was completed. Then, the telegraph lines took the place of the pony trails. The Pony Express lasted only 18 months, but it will forever remain an exciting part of the history of our growing country. If you had lived in 1860, you might have sent your brother a letter by the Pony Express. Or maybe you would have been a Pony Express rider yourself.